Okay, so so a few things that I've done with the client as of now is I've greeted her, I've explained the microblading procedure, I have gotten her to fill out the health form. She has read the aftercare sheet, and she's also got a briefing on extra tips on how to take care of her eyebrows. Okay, so we've gone through that. She's actually shown me when she came in, she's filled in her eyebrows. So I actually have an indication of what she wants in terms of her shape. So I have that information as well. So now I'm actually going to consult with her on the color. So I'm going to show her. So Linda, here's the color chart I use. So the best kind of pigmentation as a first start for Asians is I'm going to do 50% mochaccino and 50% espresso. Espresso is a neutral dark brown and mochaccino is a neutral medium brown. When I mix it and when it heals on kind of dark hair, it heals really natural and soft. So it's not too dark and it's not too light. Also, we can always go darker at your touch-up. So sometimes it's easier to kind of play it safe. So I'm going to mix 50-50 and I'm going to show you some lines on your forehead so you can kind of see the shade of it. Okay? So. Oh yeah, so I get these like little, these are I think like floss tips at like Shoppers Drug Mart. Like it comes in a little pack. So this is what I use to make some like lines on the forehead. You'll see, just so that you can kind of get some clean lines so you can kind of see the shade of it. They're like, yeah, they're not like they're actually floss picks. So I was like, I need a seat too. Alrighty. I kind of maybe we just turn on the lights. Is that would it be or would it be too?
Well, I mean, this is okay too. I mean,
is it okay?
We can see how it looks like.
Okay.
Turn on lights.
I just want to see what it looks like. Is it bright? You can probably see her too, so.
Is it that?
Yeah.
For you?
Okay, so I'm mixing the 50-50 ratio. Again, I use this ratio if 50% espresso, 50% mocha on most of my clients that have dark hair. And so, Yin, can you pass me the mirror? Thank you. All right, you're gonna hold this while I show you the shade. So how I like to do it is I like to draw a few lines on your forehead. Okay. So, So when you take a look in the mirror, when it heals, it actually is going to heal between here if you heal a little bit lighter, and then if you heal a little bit darker here. So it's not going to be as dark as the blob. It's going to be a 30% softer and lighter. So it's going to be around this line.
So is that the thickness of the blades you're going to be making?
No, it's much thinner, but I just want to show you the shade of it. So the shade of the lines will kind of be like the softness when it heals will be kind of that shade.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's better to go, again, it's better to go a little bit lighter, and then you can always add more espresso or more dark brown at the touch-up. Okay? So let me put. Oh, I need my garbage. Can you bring the garbage can over? Perfect. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the numbing, and then I'm going to draw on her ideal shape. Thank you. All right. Alrighty, so you're gonna face me and then you're gonna look at me. Perfect. I'm just gonna like this. And then close your eyes. Perfect. Dun, dun, dun. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm just gonna get my ruler. I don't need this. Okay, so I have my ruler and my wax pencil. I'm gonna get her to do the opening and closing exercise to see if there's any muscle imbalance. All right, so you're gonna look straight at me, Linda, and then you're gonna close your eyes and relax your face, and then you're gonna open your eyes. And then you're gonna close your eyes, and then you're gonna open your eyes. Okay, so visually, when I looked at her, there was really no movement in the brow area while she was opening and closing her eyes. So good news is there's no muscle imbalance, but in terms of visually looking at the hair growth, it is a little bit off a little bit, but that's easily correctable with just making the perfect shape and then tweezing areas that you don't need the eyebrow. So she actually filled in her eyebrows today, so I'm actually going to use the photos, the before photos of her filled in eyebrows to mimic the shape that she wants. All right. So you are going to close your eyes and relax your face, and then I'm going to draw on one side of the eyebrow first and make it beautiful and get you to see it until it's perfect, and then until you love it, I'm going to make it symmetrical on the other side. Do you have a favorite eyebrow?
This one.
This one's your favorite eyebrow?
Yes.
And what's the reason for it being your favorite?
I think it's just my prominent hand. It's easier to fill in. So whenever I fill this hand, it's just a lot more easier to fill in, but when I go on this side, it's just never even.
Okay, cool. And do you find like the arch is a little bit like fuller? Yeah.
I think so.
This one, the hair growth is a little bit
Yeah, a little
lower.
high up here, right?
Yeah.
And then the tail kind of starts kind of awkwardly here.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll draw your favorite brow first. Typically, I draw the outline of the eyebrow, so I'm actually microblading on the inside. So don't be overwhelmed with the eyebrow shape. So close your eyes, I'm gonna draw the shape. All right, so here her natural hairs, it's really wispy, but it actually grows, like right at her tear duct. Visually, when I look at her, I still find the spacing a little bit like larger. Typically, when the spacing here is really wide, what happens is when you visually look at someone, you look at their forehead right to their nose. So bringing it in a bit will frame the face a little bit more, okay? Her eyes and her nose, everything is kind of in like pretty like in the center. It's not wide set or too close. So I'm gonna start a little bit in front of the tear duct, okay? So I'm gonna draw the first 3 lines. So keep your eyes closed, chin up a little bit. So you draw the center, and then you kind of step back and you can take a look. And you can draw these lines very tall. And again, if you want to double check, I would measure the spacing in between, but visually I do this a lot, so I don't feel like I need to measure. But if you just want to double check, the space in between the middle line and this line should be equal to the distance here, okay? And then based on her current hair growth, I'm going to draw one side of the eyebrow first. Perfect. So she kind of wants to keep her natural fullness. It's just more definition at the tails and a little bit more fullness in the front. Again, if your eyebrow pencil is very sharp and sharpened well, then drawing these lines will be very easy. And then you're gonna measure where her tail should end. So I usually take the clear ruler and I measure and I make a marking so that the tail should end at the tip of her nose to the edge of her eye, and then you should have an indication of where the tail is. So the tail is a little bit longer than her natural hairs. And then you kind of make a mark of where the arch is, and then open your eyes and look at me. So the arch is kind of just right at the edge of her eyes when she's looking straight, and then I get microblading on the inside. Also, sometimes if I see the hair growth kind of a little bit round in the front, I'm actually gonna, keep your eyes closed now, I'm actually gonna make a curve like here. Just so that I know that the hair flow is gonna kind of go like that versus like really, really straight, okay? So then I'm gonna need you to open your eyes and you're gonna take a look at the shape. Again, I'm actually microblading on the inside of the outline, so it's not on the line or above the line. It will be kind of, all the strokes will be tucked inside. And the reason why I'm giving her a little bit more fullness in the front is that the thickest part of the eyebrow should be the fronts and gradually kind of tapering thinner and thinner and thinner. The arch should never be the thickest. If your arch is the thickest, it actually makes someone look really, really angry. It should, if the arch thickness is equal to the front, that's okay, but the arch thickness should never be thicker than the fronts. So it should be kind of a tapering, gradual shape. So, if you take a look, how did you like it?
You've answered my question.
Okay, yay! That's awesome.
I was like, why is it like, why are you doing that? That makes sense. Perfect.
Yeah, so again, I'm putting some very nice hair-like strokes will kind of fill in that area, and also building you a new tail if you look on the side. So again, building her a tail with microblading, and then Minnie will do some microshading, will really kind of give her that definition at the tail. For some people, that the hair growth kind of grows a little short, like mine too. So yeah, perfect. All right, so you're gonna keep your eyes closed. And then visually when I look at her straight on, and if you want to take a closer look, is that this eyebrow, the height of it is like a millimeter lower visually. So I'm going to do all the measurements, and you're going to see how I kind of make it a little bit more symmetrical. Okay, so chin up a little bit. So the first thing I do is, remember, I take my ruler and I just kind of measure across to kind of mark, to make my first rectangle box, right? Remember how we're making the first rectangular box? So I just make those markings, and then I'm going to do the 4 key measurements in your book. So I'm going to take from the front to the arch. So I'm going to mark that on my ruler, and then I'm going to mark the arch to the tail. And then again, because she doesn't have really much muscle imbalance, with her eyes closed, I'm going to get the height of the brow, and then the spacing, the distance between the edge of her eye and the tail. So now on my ruler, I have 4 key, I don't know how to show. I have 4 key markings basically on my ruler of the measurements, okay? And then I'm going to place it on this side.
How do you know which marking is which, since you just put 4 on there? How do you...
I just kind of, I keep my, like, a note of it, but if you forget, then maybe you can remeasure. So I keep, usually the longest marking is the front part, and then the second longest is the height, and then the third longest is this, and then the fourth is this. But it could alter, yeah. But when I measured, I paid attention. Okay. Great question. Again, if you forgot, you can always go back and double check.
Or you could do one at a time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can definitely do one at a time. See, now, because I was talking, I forgot, so I'm going to go back and measure. All right, so I have my 4 key markings, and you can keep your eyes closed. And then I'm going to draw my box here. Okay, and then I'm just going to stand back. I'm going to see if it looks like a box. If it looks pretty perfectly rectangular, then going across that's where I would start. So when I look at this, it looks pretty good. And then I'm also going to do that other box to double check the height of the brow, because again, her eye axis might be a little off. We're not sure. So I'm going to take my ruler, remember I told you, from the height of this brow, and then I'm going to cut all the way across to this brow. So when I cut all the way across to this brow, where I marked her arch makes a box. So if I look at this, so that inside line, do you see that top box? So it looks pretty rectangular. If it was like this, then you know you're in trouble. Then you know the heights of the arches do not match. If it's like this, then this arch is lower. Does that make sense? So right now where I marked it, it's a perfect rectangle. So just double check again. So now I'm just gonna, because you made all those measurements, you're just gonna easily connect the dots. So and if you have any questions, please ask during this time.
What face type would you say she has? Or face shape?
Yeah, face shape is a little bit of a like oval and slightly long. So.
So in that case, you want less of an arc?
Yep. Yeah, less of an arch, and you can see like the shape I'm drawing is the arch is very subtle.
Are you selling those clear rulers, or if not, where would you get one?
This one was really old from Lash Forever. I don't know if they sell them anymore, but I got a newer one at Curry's that's also clear. Curry's is like an art store, art supply store. And I don't know, a quick observation that Minnie also noticed is that when you're right-handed, sometimes you draw this certain lines a little bit more curvier than, and then when you draw on this side, it's a little bit flatter. So I noticed I made this a little bit too straight. And then so visually, when I look at this side and I look at this side, visually, I made this tail a little bit longer. So again, once you finish drawing, you're going to have to pay attention and kind of keep checking and visually look, because because I'm microblading on the inside of the outline, I have the luxury of just continuously kind of shading it in a little bit to make it the right shape. And then once I'm pretty content with it, I'm going to do all the measurements. So I'm going to kind of curve the stroke a bit. So then I'm going to measure the thickness here in the fronts, in the middle, and at the edges, and if you want to double check, even at the middle of the tail. Okay, so when I measure the front here, I measure the inside of the thickness. So that is a perfect 1 centimeter. Okay, so then I'm going to go over here, and that one is perfect. Let me double check. So this one is a little bit, this one was like 9.5 mil. So again, you can kind of keep shading and tweaking so that the thickness matches. Okay, and then the middle part is 9 millimeters. The arch is 8. So it's a beautiful transition. It's 10 millimeters, 9, 8. You see, so the thickness kind of slowly is transitioning. Also, on an oval face or long face, just a quick tidbit, a fuller eyebrow is more flattering. So even I have a long face and I have a little bit of a thickness, not too much arch. A fuller brow is more flattering on a longer face. So it's okay to go a little fuller. All right, so when I measure on this, on the other side, it went from 8 to 7. So I'm actually going to make this a little bit thinner. See, the beauty of microblading on the inside of the outline is that you can just constantly shade it in so that it matches the thickness. So now I'm going to measure it again. So this has to be 8 millimeters, perfect, and this arch has to be 7, perfect. So one last measurement I measure is the whole length of the eyebrow. Beautiful. So it actually like matches up. It matches up perfectly. And then you open your eyes. Beautiful. So I don't know if you can if you want to kind of take a look, the hair growth is where the symmetry, it's unsymmetrical. The hair growth here is going higher, and then the hair growth here kind of grows low. Remember how we talked about that in the beginning? So naturally her hairs kind of grow lower here. So building that fullness at the top makes her eyebrows now way more symmetrical, which is maybe also why she had trouble filling them in. So you're gonna take a look, and I measured everything. And again, I'm microblading on the inside outline. So because I had to do all the measurements, you're going to notice your hair growth is what is slightly unsymmetrical, is that I have to fill in the fullness here to match the height of this eyebrow. And then we're going to tweeze the hairs here. But because the hairs here kind of grow this way and the hairs grow this way, it kind of was a little bit unbalanced before. But now when we microblade and kind of give you a little bit more fullness here, your eyebrows look way more symmetrical. How do they look?
They look good.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like, I feel like I have a unibrow, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
And again, it won't be that full once we microblade, so it's just gonna be all within the lines. It's within your natural thickness. Yeah.
I'm wondering if this tail looks a bit short compared to this side.
It isn't, and when I measure the full length of brow, it isn't. Okay. Once we finish microblading and you sit up, if it still looks a bit short, we can extend it a little bit. Okay. But like visually, when I look at you, it doesn't look short. Okay. So let's try it out first, and again, at your touch-up, we can see how it heals and also tweak it. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. So we're gonna adjust the cameras, and then I'm gonna demo my microblading. So it's exciting. Okay, I don't think we need this. Okay, perfect. So I'll show you how I dot and make the transition points as well. So again, take my surgical marker, and then I'm gonna, and then chin up a little bit more. Perfect. Awesome.
Where do you get the markers from?
In that surgical pack that we gave you today.
You know,
Oh,
I mean, like where in the world?
Oh, this is, I guess it's from Korea?
Oh, okay. Like you order them online, or you go to Korea to get them?
We ordered them from our supplier right now, but you can get them at Lash Forever too. So, how I mark the transition, do you see her hair growth is like Asian, so it's number 3. And so her hairs grow up and then it comes downward. So the pattern is number 3 on your kind of book. So I'm gonna mark my transition. So I mark the arch. I'm gonna mark it like kind of like here, okay? And you'll see her hair growth. You see how this one kind of grows downward. This one grows a lot fuller. So again, there's a little bit more work on this side. So again, I'm just gonna. See, I'm not dotting very. And I find microblading on the inside of the outline is, like you can really see the shape. Like it's very clear where you're microblading. It's just the white part. If you actually microblade on the line or above the line, sometimes you can go over. So I really highly recommend you actually microblade on the inside of the outline. Okay. All right, so put on your ink ring. See how I stretch. All right, Linda, I'm gonna get started. It's gonna feel a little bit like a threading sensation, but we will put more numbing in the middle of the procedure, so it shouldn't feel too bad, okay? Okay. All right. So I put a little bit of ink in my blade, and then I stretch. I do stretch like mini, because I kind of hold it like this. I don't hold like this. I kind of use it to pull. So I'm gonna pull 3 ways, and then I'm gonna make a stroke. And because our strokes are more wispy in the front, I'm going to stagger them, like how you see on my Instagram. So technically, when I am pulling the strokes, I actually don't use all the parts of the blade. I might use all the parts of the blade when I'm here. But the fronts, because you want them to look nice and wispy, I don't use all the blades. I might be using like 4 or 5 pins. How does the sensation feel?
Feels like paper cuts more.
Okay. Just hang tight, okay? There will be additional numbing.
Oh, it doesn't hurt.
Okay, perfect. So again, my transition is here. So again, if you're being compromised with your, if you're being compromised with your stroke, I'm gonna turn my chair. Also, I made a few front strokes. I'm just gonna show you for best practices. I'm gonna actually do the front strokes here. Again, you're gonna look at what you did over there to make them like as identical as possible. Okay, and then Now that I kind of did a few front strokes, I'm going to finish one side of the eyebrow. So again, you can extend some strokes or you can kind of fill in between. But you're going to start to curve. And again, the hair flow of your client is a good indication of how to go about your strokes. So I would say just follow what they have. Like if their strokes are kind of going curving now, then you're going to kind of curve into it. But again, pull with the 3 fingers. And again, the underneath this part is very, is more kind of juicy, I would say. So it's really, really important to actually pull on the bottom so that you get a really clear line. And I'm basically following the hair flow. Okay, and then here, the transition, her natural transition actually, probably her hair is kind of grow more downward at this point, but I'm going to pull back the transition because sometimes the transition looks a little bit more flattering when you pull it back a little bit. Again, your strokes don't have to be very heavy or very lot of pressure, because you can always reinforce them a bit later. Okay, so now I was kind of like cocking my arm. So again, you're not going to compromise your arm for a stroke. So you're going to keep moving your chair. And then, Lynn, I'm going to get you to tilt your head a little bit to the left. Yeah, perfect. So again, you can always tell your client to move their head and stuff like that so that you're not kind of like, oh, I'm trying to like make a stroke. You're always trying to like pull the strokes towards you, because when you pull it towards you, they're going to be really, really straight. And then again, this part you're going to make, because you're kind of building the arch. So kind of like what Minnie said, you're kind of building a shield. So you put like a few strokes there so that you know that you don't go over it. And if you get a little messy, if your blade gets clunky, always clean your blade. Always have a clean blade when you're working. Can everybody see? It's good that we have a smaller group this time, because then everybody can actually gather around. So again, because I already kind of made kind of the outline, now it's a lot easier. I'm just filling in and following her hair growth, right? Again, nice long strokes is better, because when it heals, it does heal a little bit patchy, so it's okay if you have a long stroke. If you have tiny, tiny little strokes, and also the skin at the tail is very delicate, so I would say sometimes it's better to ease up on your pressure, because I've corrected people's work where they put the same pressure and then the tail looks really, really fat. So you can kind of ease up on your pressure around the skin area here. Again, I'm microblading on the inside of the outline, so you don't go beyond the purple dot. And remember, you see all my strokes, they're kind of going towards the tail. They're not kind of intersecting each other. They're kind of flowing right towards the tail. And then you're done. And then what I do is I just smear the pigment around just to let it set. And I'll let it set while I work on the other side. Good? Helpful? Yeah. And if you are, I know I actually can microblade literally. I just microblade through the whole brow. if you start your first pass, you can space out your strokes a little bit more as you take a little bit of time. So you can space them out a little bit more and then fill it in at your second pass. Okay? So unfortunately, I'll have to move this way, so you have to scoot over. So center your head, Linda. The first eyebrow feel okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect.
A little tingly.
A little tingly, yeah. And then so here I forgot to put my transition point. So it was similar to here, so it was kind of like here. So never forget it. See, so so I know, okay, by then, look at the hairs, it's growing down. So just pay attention to the hair growth and follow it, because that's your best map to make it look natural, is to follow the flow of the hair.
Can
Okay.
we maybe rotate the group so those of us who are back here can go up
Yeah,
to this?
yeah, can you please do that for the other brow? Yeah. Don't worry, we'll go through another round and then micro shading as well. So don't worry, you'll get a chance to see everything. And again, you can also bring your phone to like record some stuff. And again, this whole demo is gonna be on YouTube, so don't feel like you've missed anything. You'll get to watch it on YouTube because Alex is filming it. Okay. All right. So keep your eyes closed. Beautiful. So. Because I'm right-handed, on this side I tend to have to twirl my chair a little bit more. So pay attention to that if you're right or left-handed. So again, I'm going to follow her hair growth and kind of stagger the strokes in the front just so that it looks a little bit more natural and soft, so it doesn't look like a full line. And I would say her skin type, would you say her skin type is a combination, Linda?
Yeah.
Perfect.
On the dry side though.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I would have said. And then the texture of it feels a little bit like between an apple and an orange, a little bit. So just like in between. So good skin texture. I think she's gonna heal really well. So my last stroke underneath is right there because then the hairs start growing down. And then here is just filling up the top part.
That's why you mark the peak again, right? To let yourself know when you're transitioning downward.
Yes.
Okay.
When I first started microblading, I'm like, I had different transition points for different eyebrows. I'm like, this is not going to look good. So I realized that if I mark it, then it's going to be even. So here, sometimes like if they have less hair here, maybe the pressure at the top, just go a little bit softer so that you don't kind of overcommit a stroke. And also you can do the micro shading to kind of fill it in a little bit and make it a little bit softer so it doesn't look like the strokes on the top part is too harsh. And again, when I transition, I'm going to leave, this is my transition mark, I'm going to leave a little gap, and then I'm going to come down and follow her hair. Turn that chair. And again, you're going to make a shield, so when you're coming into the arch, I'm going to make a few strokes here, following the hair growth just to so see, now I have the shield. Now it comes a lot easier because now you know you just have to fill in this section. So you're not going to go beyond those areas, and then you're just going to follow her hair. And some of you that follow Tina Davies, I know she likes to pull the skin and see the depth. I personally don't like that depth. I like something a little bit lighter. I find it heals a little bit more natural, and you can always go fuller at the touch-up. So I feel like her depth, if you kind of look at some of her videos of what the depth should be, I kind of maybe just a little bit tad lighter, and it heals a little bit more softer and more natural. But again, different hair stroke textures are different. If you have like Italian hair and it's really full and thick, then you might need a little bit more pressure. If you have an Asian client with like peach fuzz hair, then you actually might want it to like lighten the pressure so that the hair strokes when it heals is a lot more softer. Look at that, and then rub it in, just really press into it. And then at this point, I'll wipe it. If the client doesn't feel any sensation, then you can do one more reinforcement before you do shading. Or if they feel like there's a little bit of sensation, then you might want to put the tag on now. Okay, so let's wipe it, and sorry, keep your eyes closed. Looking good.
So you finished like the whole eyebrow just in your first pass?
Yes. But obviously not everybody can do that. So that's why I'm saying maybe you want to space out your strokes because you're not confident. And based on demo, you know, because we can't stand here like for longer periods of time, I can finish pretty much all the strokes in one pass, and then I do reinforcement. But that comes with practice.
So by reinforcement, you re-go over everything you just did?
Yes. And typically I won't do that just because sometimes you want the lines to heal a little bit softer. And again, you can always make it fuller at the touch-up. So I would say you might not even want to do that. So you can see with the Korean blade, and I hope you guys purchased some, you see the lines are really soft and really like paper thin. Like paper thin. You cannot get it like this with like Lash Forever blades or other blades that I've tried. Like I can only get it with like these types of blades, right? So it's like, you see it's like paper cut thin. Like, so I will reinforce, but based on time's sake, and also I want her lines to heal really soft and fluffy to match her hairs. You see how her hairs are very kind of like very thin, they're not really coarse. So typically you want your strokes to be light and soft to match the texture of the hair. So if she had like, if she was Italian, she had like coarse hair, then you might want to reinforce maybe one more time or maybe twice. But I think I'm gonna leave it like this on this side of the eyebrow. And put the tag on. So I'm going to put the numbing, and then I'm going to get May to do the shading. And if she thinks that certain areas need to reinforce some lines, she'll do that. So it's okay to reinforce 2. I wouldn't reinforce more than 3 times. And if they're Asian clients or has really sparse hair, even some blondes have very like peach fuzz hair, no more than twice. I might reinforce this side because I'm building a whole new top part.
And do you have a specific like aftercare that you suggest? Because I know I see a lot of different.
Yeah, great question. Aftercare, I actually personally like dry heal. So dry heal, it's like a tattoo term of once you leave your day, don't put anything on it, don't touch it, don't pick at it. And then I only recommend putting Zenza healing cream, which we're selling as well. Or I guess coconut oil if they really, really need it, if it's really flaky and really, really dry. If not, even with my eyebrows, like dry heal is better, just because some people naturally have oily skin anyway. So if you lather more oil on it, the lines will blow out. Okay, so never ever tell your clients to put coconut oil or healing cream like every 2 hours. I've heard of this. People say like, oh, put it. Do not do that. I've seen healed work come to me with those instructions, and the lines literally look like Sharpie lines. So the drier the skin, the lines heal more crisp and sharp. So same concept, if it's dry heal, then it's drier, then the lines will heal more crisp. So try to tell them to put less oil on them, because if they have oily skin and you lather all the oil on, then the lines will blow out. It's kind of like watercolor. You know how watercolor bleeds? It will do that if you have really oily skin. So if you lather a lot more oil, then all the lines will just blow out, and it's not gonna look nice and crisp, okay? So drier skin is better. So if they have really oily skin, I would also say dry heal for sure. Like, even if the scabs look bad, like don't put anything on, okay?
So not just the Zenza healing once a day is enough?
Zenza healing, try your best to not even put it on if they have oily skin. So give it to them so that they have it in case they really need it, in case it's really itchy. But if not, then tell them to try their best to not even use it at all. Okay?
What about like rinsing or washing them? Sometimes they'll say to like wash them before you put your cream on and each day.
The only thing I would say is that people have been starting to use like green soap, which is like the tattoo sterilized soap. You can do that. I just try my best to not pick at it, don't get water on it, just not do anything. But if they want to sanitize even more, they can rub some green soap on it. But it's like, I don't know if you can get that anywhere. I don't know if it's like only at specific tattoo shops, but some people clean the eyebrow with green soap.
Okay.
So it's a special like tattoo.
So don't get them wet until they're completely healed.
I would prefer that. And if they do get a little bit wet, just dab it to let it dry. So I'm gonna go to my trolley to get a little bit of tag so that she's numb for Minnie to. So tag. Yeah, so if you kind of take a look, I'm gonna reinforce because Minnie can reinforce any areas, but you see the lines are very soft and it matches her hair type. Okay, does it make sense? Like it matches, like if she had darker hair or coarser hair, then we might want to reinforce. But right now, just to minimize her sensation, I'm gonna put a little bit of tag on. So just a little bit like this, and then apply it on one side. And then the tag also removes some of the marker. So if you find like you dotted too intensely, if you kind of circle around like this, it kind of removes some of that marker line. I'm gonna do that. And then to be very sterile and clean, you're gonna use another, like you're not gonna infect your tag with a dirty swab. So you're gonna take another swab, and you're gonna, everything is one-time use, guys. So, you know, from a sterilization standpoint, you're going to only use things once and then it goes out the garbage, unless it's your blade where you're gonna sterilize it in the bleach solution. So again, it's 2 tablespoons of bleach, 2 teaspoons of bleach and 2 cups, 250 ml of water.
You mean your handle, not your blade? Or do you actually mean
Yeah, sorry, the handle, not the blade. The blade goes, guys, the blade goes in the Sharpie box. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do like 5 things at once. I'm like, what else can I tell you guys?
So because you just picked up the tag with open, contaminated, bloody hands, will you throw the tag out now?
No. That one you can actually just sterilize with the rubbing alcohol.
The outside of the bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fine.
And that burns, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit.
But don't worry, it's actually making it very, very numb. So yeah, at this point of my appointment, to be, I actually will groom the eyebrows. So maybe I'll do a little bit of that because, again, remember this one was a little bit lower. So I will kind of like groom all the hairs under, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So again, the tweezers will go in the disinfectant solution as well. So I tend to pluck hairs that are not part of the shape because I'm a perfectionist. Some people like the messy look, so they can leave the eyebrow. I know Minnie uses a razor prior to this to kind of groom the hairs. I'm not good with the razor, so I just like to use tweezers. I don't want to razor off like a whole section of her brow off. Have you seen those YouTube videos of that? Apparently, one of my clients sent me like people YouTube them using a razor pretending to razor off their eyebrows, but they accidentally actually razor off their eyebrow, and then they're like, ah! So that was pretty funny.
So your hand tool is not disposable? I missed that part. You said you just dilute it in bleach?
Yeah, basically 5% bleach, 95% water. So that's equivalent to 2 teaspoons of bleach with 2 cups of water. And we double checked that. We went to one of our City of Markham like health inspection seminar, and that is good enough. It'll sterilize all the pathogens.
How come you don't have an autoclave just because? Or?
You know what? Yeah, I don't have an autoclave just because. Also, I have one of my beginner students. She actually owns a tattoo parlor, and they have an autoclave, and they said that even the health inspection people are telling them, I don't know, they're encouraging them not to have that anymore. So that's not.
Get it sent away like every year or something to get it checked out.
Yeah, so even our health inspection people in Toronto are kind of not encouraging that. Yeah. So yeah, she uses now she microblades at her tattoo parlor, and she uses the bleach and water solution. Or you can also get on the last page of the manual, you can also get the CS20 Excel sterilant. So if you don't want to mix that solution, you just want to be really, really safe, you can buy, it's like a big jug of sterilant, and you just pour it into a glass or metal container, and then you can use the solution up to 2 weeks. So you just keep popping things in, taking them out, and then after 2 weeks you throw out that solution, and then you pour in fresh solution. So you can buy the CSSL sterilant, or you can mix water with the bleach. All right, so I kind of groomed her eyebrows a little bit, looking great.
Now, if you're getting a lot of bleeding most of the time, does that mean your pressure's too hard?
I would say yes. Yeah, because again, you can always add more strokes, more fullness at her touch-up. So I would lighten it. And if you see my strokes, like very crisp, very fine, very soft, even if I reinforced it one more time, it will still be very, very like crisp and paper-like. It won't be really fat. Okay. So I'm gonna step back, and then I'm gonna get, where's Minnie? Over there. Okay, so she's gonna, I put the tag on, so then you're gonna do the shading, and then you might have to reinforce some of the lines. Okay?
What size blade did you use?
The 14 pin pit. Yeah, it's the one we sell. And again, we don't use any other blade. You just alter your pressure and the amount of pins you put on. So the front strokes, me and Minnie we put less pins on it to make them look more sharp and wispy, and then you can put more pins on the skin as you get to the denser part of the brow. So you don't have to use all the pins here. You can kind of do that a little bit more, so it's more wispy. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, just give me some space here.
For older people, if they have a lot of white hairs, they often ask if they can dye them afterwards.
Yeah, they can. After all the scabs fall off.
And the dye doesn't interfere with the pigment at all? Is it?
No, not really.
I just want to show you how the combination of the microblading and manual shading look like. She came back for the touch-up, and this is actually even I do the touch-up, before I do the touch-up. And obviously she has dry skin, and so the stroke is still there. And as you can see, in between the strokes, you can see minor shading. What I did with her first time was that, because she has a less hair at the tail, so instead I was explaining to her, it would be a good idea if you mix the both techniques, but then she doesn't want to try too much, so I just did a little bit so that she can feel a bit. So when she came back for touch-up, she agreed that she can go a little more with the shading. So I can pass it around before I start. You can take a look.
Okay.
Sorry, Minnie, I have to slow your shape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't need pockets, right? Okay, just put it on that.
It's before.
and just here. That works?
Oh,
Too far?
put it above the tag.
Here?
Yeah, that's perfect. And have the microphone pulling.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
here.
good. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
You also do a dry heel?
Sometimes, but I normally say yes. I tell them nothing, because that's the best result. But again, here comes the oily skin again. They remember what I said. They have like chunk peeled off. So in that case, they might don't like the look of the peeling. So I just suggest them to just use tiny little bit on the area it's too much, or it's extremely itchy, because so that they keep scratching their eyebrows. I just put tiny little bit. And yes, I go with the dry healing. Yeah.
Do you ever tell people like if they're red after a few days to use polysporin or anything like that?
No, ever.
Okay, so what if they are red or if they're potentially getting an infection?
No, that if they have an infection, they will contact you. Otherwise,
Okay.
there's no polysporin at all.
Right.
Like those one actually makes their skin heal, and then it takes away the pigments eventually. So no.
Okay, but if they're red at all and concerned, what do you tell them?
It's always red, so just wait. Tell them to wait for a couple days until the redness is gone. As long as they don't really see like white or yellowish like stuff coming, then they're fine. If they sing it, you can just tell them to get antibiotic cream that they can easily purchase on. Yeah, so you can suggest them. And the possibility of getting infection is not maybe from you normally, because we make sure that everything's clean. It's more for their immune system. Their immune level is so low, so sometimes their healing process can be bothered by other factors like dust and everything. So don't be so scared of getting this comments from your clients sometimes.
One lady, she oozed a lot. She oozed it was like a liquid. And when I was working, you could see almost like a liquid, like a clear liquid coming out.
Yeah,
But then when she was healing, it almost crossed had yellow kind of.
Yeah, that's the infection. Yeah.
And it was from the beginning when I was working, she had that clear thing. Her skin was so hard. But she wasn't, that's when I did kind of tell her, just put an antibiotic right now, just to be safe.
Yes.
But she always said that she always heals funny with even a mosquito bite. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why she's getting that. Did you guys get to see it? Okay. Since she has a very good skin, I think she has a very good combination, bit of a dry skin, and her strokes went in pretty good. But sorry about that, it's a little bit slippery. Remember when you are doing the shading, instead of wiping it, just dab it, right? And normally the dry cotton is better than wet cotton. Okay? When you remove the pigments, you use the wet cotton. But then when you are working on shading, just make sure that you have like a dry cotton on the side so that you can use that one instead of the wet one. Okay? So the beauty of doing micro shading is, I think all of us experience like stroke, I would say traffic, because it's not going to flow or it's kind of overlapped, or for some reason you can't really have a good microblading strokes. The beauty of doing micro shading, you can cover it with doing it. So I would say we never make a mistake. We just cover our mistake with other technique, so that eventually you are giving them the perfect look at the end of the day. Okay. So even at first session, it doesn't have to be on touch-up. Like I do normally a little bit of microblading and a little bit of micro shading at the tails at first to see how it turned out. And if it turned out to be pretty good, then I add a little more density on touch-up. Okay. So when you are doing the shading, sorry, let me just move it like this. Same thing, you stretch the skin, right? And dip the ink. As we practiced together, gentle poking, okay? Does it hurt?
Nope.
So literally you are just putting the pigment into the skin. Instead of cutting the skin, you are just pushing in the pigment into the skin. And I see her, she has a good hair growth on here, but not in the tail and not in the front, right? Try to tap it, and you can see the pigment slowly goes in here, right? So when you tap it, you might not be able to see sometimes whether it's shaded or not. So you take the wet cotton, instead of like wiping it so hard like this, it's gentle tapping. Maybe you want to clean the side like this, but then on the shading part, you just gently use the wet cotton to see whether it's the color went in. It's already went in. You can see it, right? Do you see it? So I'm gonna do a little bit more on here. Do you not roll? Turn a little bit, like so that she can come here and. See, it's very interesting. Even though I don't poke it too hard, still the color goes in, right? And I would like to do a little bit of more shading on here, although I was telling you guys the front has to be lighter compared to the tail, but since she doesn't have hair here, I'm just going to give a bit of a shading. Depending on your position, you know, when I was doing this, my pen was pointing at this direction, but when I'm working on the front, instead of doing that, I can also do like this too, like or this. So the position doesn't matter as long as the needle and the skin meets 90 degrees, okay? I could have done more strokes between the stroke that Tiffany did, but just to show you guys how the shading works, I'm just doing the shading instead of more stroking. Are you okay?
I feel your hand pressure more than the actual blade.
Good. So this is the wet cotton. I'm just gonna dab it slightly.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this similar to the ombre brow powder technique?
See, good question. Your client doesn't know like they know the name of ombre and the concept of ombre and gradient effect. I would say yes, because as we go to the tail, we make it darker and we made it lighter in the front with the micro shading, manual micro shading. So yeah, the answer is yes. See, do you see the difference between this front and this front? Do you see it? You are able to see it. Otherwise, you have to keep studying like how you read the density of the eyebrows, because you gotta see the difference. Otherwise, when they come back for touch-up, if you didn't create this look, this one faded a lot. Have you ever experienced the front part of the strokes fade more than other parts? So make sure that you know what it is, and then you can add a little bit more density, not too hard, so that they expect more color retention. So I can already see the difference between these eyebrows and this eyebrow, right? These eyebrows is different, right? I'm just gonna do a little bit more here. Since she doesn't really feel any pain, I can a little bit go over. So this one is considered to the second layer, right? I just did the first layer. So depending on the amount of work you have to do for certain eyebrows, the times of the layer that you want to go with could be less. Could be 3 layers, not 5 layers.
And how long do you book for each of your appointments?
After one session, I give them maximum 3 months for free touch-up, and I normally tell them to come back within a month or like 7 weeks, because that's the best time for you to look at the healed result. Because if it's too far, then it fades more, so you are not able to actually read how the specific skin retain the colors and how it's gonna be like later on. So it's better to keep that weeks, but then everybody's busy, right? They're working, so it's better to give them extra weeks to come back. So I would say within 3 months. But if they come back for 3 months, like exactly 3 months, that's a little too far.
Yeah.
But some people do that because they think doing later is better, so that you can explain. If you really want to have a great result, it's best if you come back within 8 weeks, so that we can take the result and start from there. It's not like you're waiting for a long time to do another touch-up. It's kind of hard for me to give you the advice of how your skin will retain the colors and how long it's gonna last. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I normally do the microshading, microblading together at first, on the first session, because I want to make the eyebrow look perfect. So so that when they come back for touch-up, still it's nicely healed. You can just add a little bit more shading and microblading on top of it.
So you do shade at your first appointment?
Yes,
Okay.
I normally do that.
Do you ever mix colors?
Yes, I do mix color too.
I mean, like twist shading one color? And
No, I use the same pigment mix for the shading and microblading. So obviously it takes a bit of time and more effort, but it's worth it.
Do you mask the brow after you do micro shading?
What do you mean mask?
Like put the pigment on and let
Yes,
it sit
yes,
for
yeah.
15, 20 minutes?
Yep. So I think this eyebrow is done. I don't want to go over more, because we don't know how her skin will retain the color. So you don't want to do too much, but I can stop on here. Okay, and when I stop on here, take the wet cotton, okay, and then press a little bit hard. I'm just gonna press a little bit hard on your eyebrows. And you can see, right? You are just cleaning up all those possible blood that stays there. So you just one more time, because if you clean the blood like by pressing it and put the pigments, you will eventually sitting it in more, like better. If you skip this step, still the color will go in, but then when you remove the pigment, you will still see the color under, like the red color under, not the pigment. Red color, not from the pigment, but the blood. Like you can kind of see it under. Then I just throw this out. Let me just grab it.
The garbage can is under the
Yeah.
Did you guys do a rotation yet? Maybe?
I did it once, so maybe we can do one more.
Yeah.
And again, this is all recorded, so you're not missing out on the YouTube. You'll see it clearly as well. Okay.
Sorry.
So Minnie, it's 6 o'clock. How long do you think?
So 5 more minutes.
5 more
Yeah.
minutes? Okay. Thank you.
So start from the tail, but can I just go this side? Okay. Again, make sure that you're stretching the skin well. Unlikely from microblading, the 3-point stretching here is not that crazy, just a little bit.
So you might find that sometimes just going over it twice at the end might be enough in the first time.
Yeah, I think so. If their skin is combination and has a well microblading strokes, you don't really necessarily to go over like 5 layers. Yeah, 2 to 3 layers should be fine. Yeah. So you guys feel free to message me or like send a DM on Instagram. I'm very open to take your more questions even if the class is over, because the more you practice, the more questions you will probably have. So you're welcome to send me a message with a question. So if for some reason you can't really handle it, you can drop by my studio just to practice more. I don't mind it. We have I have a manager, Laura, and other technician to help you, so don't feel bad to drop in. You're welcome to come in.
We're going to get the YouTube link by email?
You can go to our YouTube account. You can see the video on there.
Oh, on your YouTube.
Yeah, it's very easy to access. And also, I try to keep posting my video of my work so that you can actually see me working on my client. Do you see the shade? Yeah. It's already there, right?
Yes, looks good. Very nice.
Yeah. That's why I recommend you to mix a little bit of shading after microblading is done.
And this works well even if they have had previous tattoo?
Yep. But again, if you have a previous tattoo, it's better to use a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see here she has less hair than here, I think, right? You have a less hair on these eyebrows? That's what I was talking about. Because we did a microblading, we know where to stop. We don't go over with the line. You just stop where the line finishes. If you didn't do the microblading, you might end up a little bit go up more than where you originally draw the design.
Do you ever use the shading machine for the first?
I don't use the shading machine first time. Unless I have extremely oily skin
Okay.
and
More for the touch-up.
and also who has like less than 50% of the hair, then I use the machine because I can't really do the shading. It takes forever for me to do that. And then when they come back for touch-up, now I can just do the manual shading, not the machine. Because you already made the base with the machine. So I think here is okay, but the front is still, I can see a little lighter. So I'm just gonna add more. Okay, I'm gonna apply the pigments on top, yeah. Since I put this pigment first, I'm gonna wipe this off. And we wait for another couple more minutes for these eyebrows.
When you do your reveal videos, what do? Have them hold an iPad up in front of themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how.
So they're like this on the bed?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how Tiffany taught me.
Right. Okay.
She does like that. So I asked her, how do you do that? Do you have certain like equipment like from
yeah.
the ceiling? But then, yeah, she let the client hold it. Not many people wants to do reveal video though. So I will stop this one here, and then just wait for another one to finished. And then we are done. Thank you for your patience. Let's wait for 2-3 minutes more, and then we can wipe the other side. And she's done. Okay.
So you'll tell her not to put any coconut oil or anything on it, just leave it
Yes, but when you're just learning microblading, that's actually what I taught too. But based on my experience and healing process as well, I found the best result that you can get from your clients is not putting on anything.
Okay, because I'm telling them morning and night.
Yeah, that's how we've been taught in the beginning.
When they come back, I don't know if it's too much coconut oil because they come back with
no color.
No.
Could be the pigment too, because I found color source and LI pigment has a very good color retention. So could be the brand of the pigment that you're using, but also like how during the healing they might put too much oil or creams on it.
Because I feel like I'm pressing a lot harder than Tiffany was.
Yes, I told you, like putting more pressure doesn't necessarily mean you are making thick, nice line. You're actually giving them scar. And you know what happened? Once the scar is healed, it's healed, nothing really left. So that's how.
Same. I put a lot more pressure, and I find that my clients bleed a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And also, Tiffany says it has to do with your pressure if you see more blood, but sometimes even if you don't press hard, because they have a high blood pressure or skin is very thin, so you see more blood. So I don't really want to say because of it's your pressure that's too much generating blood.
Could be, because that's how it is with the beginners. Like they press too hard.
That's okay. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Can I open my eye?
Yeah. Just gonna wipe.
How was it when she was, did you feel anything?
Near the end, I felt more pressure. I think the tag is wearing off.
Okay.
But if I can compare pressure, there's more pressure for the micro shading. Like I felt that the actual blading was more feathery and light, but this is more pressure.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I think she's done. Let me just take this away from you.